welcome back. Here is our next case study number 16 from CA Final Paper 3 ICA booklet on MCQs and case-based scenarios. Let's go through the case study. TMRT Retail Limited, hereinafter called as a company or TMRT, is engaged in the business of retail. The company follows financial year ending 31st of March. The company also plans to get listed in India in the next 4 to 5 years. During the financial year ended on 31st of March 2018, the management had noted extraordinary shrinkages of inventory at one of their stores. Post-examination or the analysis by the in-house inventory shrinkage team, the management came to know about the fraud of 19 lakhs by the employees of the company, comprising of head cashier, and the public relations officer. TMRT has a joint venture, DT Limited, which is engaged in the business of trading of goods. DT Limited appointed new tax auditors for the financial year ended on 31st of March 2018. DT Limited follows calendar year, that is year ending 31st of December, for statutory reporting after obtaining requisite approvals. The appointment of the new statutory auditors was done after 31st of March 2018. For the year ended 31st of March 2019, TMRT had PQN and Associates as a GST auditors. However, the management of TMRT is not happy with the work of PQN and Associates and hence wants to bring in a new GST auditor. For the reporting year 31st of March 2020, TMRT's management plans to have BKP and Associates as their internal auditors. BKP and Associates also happen to be the statutory auditors of TMRT. Let's stop it here and just think whether a statutory auditor can become an internal auditor. The answer is no. Statutory auditor cannot be an internal auditor, and at the same time, internal auditor cannot act as a statutory auditor. Hope you are clear with this point. Let's continue further. However, the management has been advised by the consultant that it should not appoint statutory auditors as their internal auditors because it would lead to the issue of independence. Similar to internal audit, professional ethics do not allow GST auditor to be statutory auditor of the same entity. Is that so? No. GST auditor and statutory auditor can also be a GST auditor. Okay. But statutory auditor cannot be an internal auditor. Hope you are clear with this. BKP and Associates have been auditing TMRT for the last 3 years and had considered management override the controls of as fraud risk and revenue recognition as significant risk for TMRT. BKP and Associates are evaluating whether they should drop both management override and revenue recognition as significant risk for the financial year ending 31st of March 2021. Considering they did not find any observations in respect of these two items in the past years, and their reports have been clean over the last 2 years. On the basis of the above mentioned facts, you are required to answer the following questions. Number 16.1. In respect of the fraud identified by the management, what shall be the reporting implications on the part of auditor? You might have noticed that our management have identified a fraud of amounting to 19 lakhs, right? By the head cashier, and some resource manager, right? It has been reported here. Public relations officer. So, what was the reporting responsibilities on the part of auditor? Since this is a fraud identified by management but not by the auditor, I mean to say management have already identified this fraud and the same has been reported to the auditor. This is what happened and we have identified this fraud. This is what happened. So now what is the responsibility of the auditor? What he should do? He should report it to the central government. Is that so? No, because the amount is only 19 lakhs. So now we'll go through the options. He need to qualify his report. But which report he should qualify? He should qualify his Caro report. So he should report this fraud in Caro report, and further he should evaluate whether the internal financial controls report and the audit report of the financial statements is to be qualified or not, depending upon the materiality level of the company. Because you cannot say 19 lakhs would be material. At the same time, you can't even say 19 lakhs is immaterial to the company. So it all depends upon the circumstances. So the auditor has to evaluate whether to qualify his IFC report and the auditor report on the financial statements for that particular company. However, he need to report such thing in his Caro report. Okay. Now we'll go through the options and we'll finalize the one. And you need to identify that this fraud has been identified by the management. It means the audit committee has also been known that this fraud has been happened. Okay. Now we'll go through the options. Option A says auditor would need to report the fraud in their Caro report. Further, they also need to evaluate whether their report on IFC and the main report should be qualified or not, because it all depends upon the materiality. So option A seems to be the correct answer. We'll go through the other options and we'll finalize. Option B says, considering the materiality, the auditor may consider not to report this matter anywhere. This is also because of the fact that management has identified this. Is that so? No. Caro reporting requires the auditor to report any fraud, whether it is identified by the auditor or the management. Therefore, option B is wrong. We'll go through option C. Auditor would need to qualify their main report as well as their Caro report. See, qualifying a Caro report means you are reporting a fraud in Caro report. That's fine. But you cannot straightforward say that he need to qualify his audit report also, because it all depends upon the circumstances that the auditor is in. So auditor has to consider the materiality level and also the outcome of this fraud on the financial statements as well. So it all depends upon many factors. Therefore, you cannot directly say that auditor needs to qualify his main audit report also. However, this fraud has to be reported in Caro report. Therefore, option C is also wrong. Option D says auditor would need to qualify their main report as well as their Caro report. Further, they would also need to report about this matter to the audit committee as well as the central government. See, Caro report, you need to report in Caro report. Till to that extent, it is correct. But you cannot say, as we have already discussed, that you cannot say that auditor needs to qualify his report. Okay. Moreover, this fraud has been identified by the management. It means the audit committee is also knowing about this fact that fraud has been committed. And when coming to reporting to the audit committee, what will you report? Audit committee itself is reporting to you that this fraud has been identified. So there is no need for you to report again to the audit committee. And also, with regard to the central government, the amount of fraud is only 19 lakhs. You can easily identify that the reporting to the central government doesn't arise. Okay. Since the amount of fraud does not exceed 1 crore rupees. Okay. So the correct option for this question is option A. With this, we have completed this 16.1 question. Hope you are clear with this. Okay. We'll go further. 16.2. The management of DT Limited did not carry out physical verification for the inventory for the year ended 31st of March 2018. What could be the reporting implications on the part of tax auditor in such case? What he should give? Straightforward, he should evaluate whether it is having any material impact, and he should, if that so, he should qualify his report, and also should evaluate whether the statutory auditor has dealt with this point in anywhere of his report. Okay. We'll go through the options. Option A says, since the tax auditors and the management both did not carry physical verification of inventory as of 31st of March 2018, the tax auditor should report on the basis of statutory auditor for the same period or last period as applicable. Just because the statutory auditor has given his clean sheet on the financial statements, it doesn't mean the tax auditor should follow the statutory auditor. So therefore, keeping in view what the statutory auditor has done is different, and following the statutory auditor is different, because tax auditor has to give his clear-cut opinion. Okay. Option A is wrong. Option B says it is a common practice to appoint tax auditors after reporting year end, and in such case the auditors should carry out the physical verification after their appointment and rollback procedures in respect of inventory. Accordingly, no reporting matter arises in such a situation. Is that so? No. The tax auditor is also he also had the responsibility of reporting whether inventory has been valued or correctly or not. Therefore, option B is also wrong. We'll go to option C. The tax auditors would need to evaluate the nature of the inventory. Further, the management should give a note in respect of this matter in the financial statements, basis on which no reporting implication would arise. Is that so? Just because the management has given their a note in the financial statements, does your responsibility as a tax auditor uh, go away? No, no. You need to report. Therefore, option C is also wrong. We'll go through option D. Since the tax auditors and the management both did not carry out physical verification for the inventory as at 31st of March 2018, tax auditors would need to qualify the tax audit report. The tax auditor would also evaluate how the tax statutory auditor has reported this particular matter in his auditor's report. Correct, no? He should qualify his report, and also he should also evaluate how the statutory auditor has dealt with this particular point in his audit report. Therefore, option D is the correct option. We'll go through the next question. Question number 16.3. The management of TMRT needs your advice in respect of appointment of common auditor both for statutory auditors and the internal auditors for the year ended 31st of March 2020. This we have already discussed. Statutory auditor cannot be an internal auditor and vice versa. Therefore, we need to choose the correct option. The management has been advised correctly. Statutory auditors cannot become their internal auditors. Yes, this is the right answer. Statutory auditors cannot become their internal auditors. But still, we'll go through the other options. The management has not been advised correctly. Statutory auditors can also become their internal auditors. So this is straightforward wrong because due to the issue of independence. Option C says management has not been advised properly. Statutory auditors can also become their internal auditors as they are familiar. No. Internal auditors and statutory auditors can never be the same person. Okay. The management has not been advised properly. However, in the given case, statutory auditors of TMRT would need to be able to take up the internal audit because they need to mention the same at the time of giving their consent letter and eligibility certificate at the time of appointment of statutory auditors. No, they cannot act as an internal auditors too. Therefore, option A is the correct option. We'll go through the next question 16.4. Please advise BKP and associates whether it would be appropriate to drop management override of controls and revenue recognition as significant risks for the financial year ending on 31st of March 2021. Can that be dropped? No, you need to evaluate whether they continue to be a significant risk or not. That needs to be evaluated by the auditor, and then he should evaluate whether to drop out such controls or not. We'll go through the options. Option A says it would be appropriate to drop management override of controls and revenue recognition as significant risks for financial year ending on 31st of March 2021. It would be appropriate. That needs to be judged based on the circumstances. You need to identify whether they continue to be a significant risk at the inherent level. Therefore, option A is wrong. Option B says management override of controls and revenue recognition should continue to be the significant risks if that continues to be significant risk at inherent level. Correct, no? Auditor has to evaluate whether they are significant or not. Therefore, it all depends upon the circumstances. So option B is the correct option, that management override of controls and revenue recognition should continue to be a significant risk for the financial year ending 31st of March 2021 if that continues to be significant risk at inherent level. So option B is the correct option, but still we'll go through the other options. Option C says management override of control should continue to be significant risk, whereas revenue recognition may not be considered as a significant risk. Is that so? No. Both has to be considered as significant risk if they are significant at inherent level. Option D says revenue recognition should continue to be the significant risk for the financial year ending 31st of March 2021. Management override of controls may not be considered as significant risk. Is that so? No. Both has to be considered as significant risk for the financial year if they are significant at inherent level. Hope you are clear with this. With this, we have completed our 16th question. 16th case study from this ICAI booklet. We'll meet in the next video. Hope these videos are helpful to you. If you like these videos, please do like, share and subscribe. And share with your friends for and getting them revised as quickly as possible. That's all for today. We'll meet tomorrow.